with your kids, but what's the easiest way to start a conversation about war? Let's bring in now Nataxja Cini from Family Therapy. Nataxja, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
Let's start with that right there. Is it a conversation to have with our children? Everything we just heard from Lana on the ground in Ukraine.
It is terrifying when you actually hear, because now we have a real face to the crisis in Ukraine. And I have to say, we need to talk with our children, and it has to be age appropriate. For our younger children who are not in school, who are not on social media, and who do not have family in the Ukraine, I don't think it's necessarily important to bring them into this conversation. For our older children, our teens, children who are at school, and if we have family in Ukraine, we have to start talking about this because everybody has concerns about what's happening in Ukraine right now.
I find that interesting because we did a poll with CTV last night, and we asked viewers, a web poll, whether it was appropriate to talk to their kids about the conflict in Ukraine, and it was split. 51% said no. And I wonder if that's because if they don't have any direct relatives, relation to the country, perhaps it feels like their kids would not be able to understand.
I think we need to give credit to the children. They understand more than what we give them credit for. All right. Children understand what bullying is about. Children understand what hitting somebody is about. They know what it means to steal something from somebody else. All right. Our older teenagers their brains are wired to actually search out information. They're on TikTok. They're on Facebook. Well, not Facebook probably, but they're on social media. And they're going to be seeing videos about this, commentaries about this. And we need to open up the space to have a dialogue that is an honest conversation about how shocking and anxiety-provoking this could be for everybody.
I think it's interesting you bring up the social media aspect of this, especially if we're talking about our teenagers, because there's a lot of misinformation happening out there that we are learning, and that's unlike wars we have seen in the past. In the age of social media, there is propaganda, there's misinformation, there's a lot of opinions out there. And so is that then where the role of the parents and educators and caregivers come in to set the record straight on what is actually happening, as opposed to letting the kids just follow what's happening on social media and maybe take it all at face value?
So that's a very good point, Annette. When we think about propaganda, misinformation, there's always misinformation out there. We don't want to shut our children down until if they come home with some opinion or they voice some opinion that we don't agree with, we don't want to shut them down. We want to allow them to have the conversation. And it's our job as parents to offer a different point of view, to listen to them so that we allow them to explore ideas and develop their own ideas and then provide a good context for it. All right? Because if we shut our kids down, they're going to have the misinformation and then they're just going to not come to us and have these conversations.
Let's say kids are, like you mentioned, the younger ones who perhaps don't have any relatives or are not Ukrainian, who do not have more of a direct link to that country, see something. They see a flag. They see a Ukrainian flag in a car, for example, as mom or dad are driving around. What's that? Why is that there? What does that mean? Is that an opportunity to then answer those questions, or do we steer clear of it?
So never steer clear of conversations, because when we create, like I'll say, a mystery or it's a secret, those then cause more anxiety in people. And so we want to have open conversations. So yes, I am seeing the Ukraine flags on cars these days. And if my children asked me about it, I would say, well, that's the flag for Ukraine. There is conflict going on in Ukraine and people are trying to show their support for Ukraine. And if they ask more questions, answer the questions. It is always with the younger children, keep it age appropriate. We have to, and I've talked about this before with you, Annette. Kids are sponges from us. If we're anxious and fearful, they're going to feed off of that. So it's important for us that we tell them that we're safe here in Canada, but not everybody's as fortunate as we are. And to explore those ideas with them. If they ask the questions and answer the questions they have, don't be inundating them with information, and definitely don't be showing them war videos, because the videos are most traumatizing to anybody.
Yeah, I like how you answered that in a very direct way. 3 sentences. This is a flag that represents a country. People are showing their support. I mean, that's all factual information. without provoking any fear. And I think that's where I want to go next with this, is that the word war is a very big word, and children hear that even at a young age. and they may question right away, well, are we safe? Are they coming here? Are we going to have to separate? Does dad have to go fight? Are we going to have to stand in a long line to board a train to another country? I mean, where their little minds may go is maybe reflective of what they see on the screens or on videos. How do we reassure them when really there's no promises for anything? But how do we reassure them that they are safe here?
You're right. There is no, I mean, we don't know what the future is going to bring. So there really is no, and I actually want to even answer that. Even if you are a military family, then it's going to be a different conversation because your parent may have already been deployed once or twice already. And that is part of the conversation that you might have, maybe not so much with the younger child, but even with even if you're 7 and up. Like, you remember when mommy or daddy was deployed, this might happen, but it's not going to happen tomorrow. So if they ask these questions, you're going to have to answer them. And for the younger children, who you don't have necessarily a direct contact with Ukraine, or you're not in a military family or any type of family that might be deployed overseas, to say to them, yes, we are safe here. All right. We're far, far away from the war zone. And I think that's important for us to reassure them that we are much safer here in Canada.
Really great point about the military family, because yes, in this region, there are many, and this could be very triggering for a lot of those families, no doubt. Really great information, an important conversation, whether parents feel comfortable or not having one. Sometimes it's an uncomfortable one, but one that has to be had. Nataxja Cini from Family Therapy, thanks so much for your time and insight on this.